a cold and snowy afternoon here on the Great Plains. It's the opening round of the 2025 FCS Playoffs. The New Hampshire Wildcats of the CAA have traveled to Brookings to face the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State from the Valley. It's the upper Midwest. It's late November. What else would you expect? The winner will advance to the second round to take on Montana. And welcome, everybody, along with Jeff Woody. I'm Doug Sherman. So glad you're with us here today. And certainly weather is going to be a big part of the story. The quarterbacks are going to be a big part of the story. But momentum is a big part heading into the playoffs. UNH hasn't lost in over a month. The Jackrabbits, meanwhile, have had some adversity, but they have gotten great news for today.
Yeah, New Hampshire, they have won 5 consecutive games. And South Dakota State, on the other hand, they're 1-4 in their last 5. And you look at that and you go, that's probably not a great recipe for success, but the inflection point at which their season changed was when their quarterback, Chase Mason, got hurt and was out of the lineup. Well, good news for the Jackrabbits fans today. He's back in the lineup, and it makes a massive difference. You look, without him, they were averaging 34 points a game. They're 16 points worse with him out of the lineup. They're 100 yards worse with him out of the lineup, and with him, that includes wins at Montana State and at Youngstown State. He makes a tremendous difference at the helm.
Both head coaches invoke the name of Josh Allen when talking about Chase Mason. He is expected to be an NFL draft pick, whether he were to come out this year or next year. His head coach said that if he stays for next year, he could be a first rounder. Well, the weather, it's apparent. There is a lot of white on the field and a lot of bundling up for most folks in the stands. The wind chill is 2 with gusting winds, and snow is expected to continue throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, and your game plan will change based on the footing and the wind more than anything. The temperature, the snowflakes, it's actually kind of fun to play in this, but a little bit of walking in a winter wonderland here for both teams.
New Hampshire will kick off to begin the ball game with the reigning CAA Special Teams Player of the Week, a sophomore from Harrison, New York, Nick Reed, who his head coach Rick Santos says will kick in the NFL. He's got that kind of leg. And let's see how footing is today for both special teams, offense, and defense.
In the ground. Well, if your footing's not stable, pass protection is harder, but routes, you know where you're going, so defending the receivers is harder. So harder to protect, but easier to run. So not really a tremendous advantage on either side.
Julius Loffridge, the transfer from Fordham University, carries the football on second down. Not a lot of room up front. Trevor Berry, the terrific redshirt freshman linebacker, in on the stop.
Yeah, Julius Loffridge, he's a 4,000-yard rusher in his career. He ran for 3,000 at Fordham. He is their 4th all-time leading rusher in school history, and then transferred over to South Dakota State this year. They've talked about him acclimating to the multiple kind of natures of their blocking assignments, and he has really come to life in his last few weeks.
3rd down and 7. Looking to throw again. Mason fires a strike, has a man. It's a first down. Alex Bullock, his primary receiver, the former Nebraska Cornhusker, hauls it in. Cohen Cook was in coverage.
Yeah, and this is where you know where you're going as a wide receiver. So you look at Bullock, he's able to turn around, and Cohen Cook, the safety, has to put his foot in unstable ground to try and make a break on that ball. Expect a lot of those short and intermediate routes to be effective against both defenses because of the defensive backs having to adjust in snow.
That was Bullock's 64th catch of the season. And there's Graham Goring on the receiving end. He's the guy who made the overtime winning catch to get the Jacks to this point in their regular season finale last week.
Man, the guts by Jack Henry to make that pass in that game and the incredible catch that he made, that's going to go down in Jackrabbit lore for a very long time. But there's once again another stop and turnaround route, forcing defenders to break forward once they're already in a back pedal. That will be a common theme for both teams all day.
So a 6-yard hookup from Mason to Goring. Going to run it up the middle with guidance. Loffridge able to break free. Still on his feet. Dragged down by Duncan Moreland, the free safety, who made a touchdown saving tackle.
And really, that's a pretty good example of what both teams provide. Darren Burton, number 4, he's the nickel corner. He is their havoc. He is their chaos. He made a connection in the backfield. You see him coming from the left side of your screen. He just wasn't able to make the tackle because Loffridge is 6 foot 215 of solid chiseled stone. He is really hard to get on the ground. So that's a free rusher, and it's number 4. Yeah, you'll see that a lot. Loffridge breaking tackles, you're going to see a lot of that too.
And I love that the tight end number 82, Coleman Kuntz, helped to guide him through that hole, turned him in the right direction. Incomplete pass by Mason. And I'll tell you what, so with Chase Mason back, that means Jack Henry, who had been their starting quarterback the last few weeks, he goes back to number 2. How does it change the offensive outlook for the Jackrabbits and their staff? The offensive coordinator, Eric Eidsness, the head coach, Dan Jackson.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's the guts are the same. You know, the nuts and bolts of the car are the same, but the engine's a lot better. And the arm talent this kid had is unbelievable. His physicality, his captainship, I mean, everybody's vibes improved when he came back on the practice field.
Screen pass caught. Gonna be a big play down the sideline out of bounds. A little extracurricular after the play. A couple of players get separated. Jack Smith was blocking downfield. Duncan Moreland was the Wildcat on what's a big play to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda.
And now they're looking to go a little bit faster tempo, and New Hampshire caught substituting.
Run it with Loffridge, and he is drilled. Got a flag down on what was a big hit by the captain, defensive end Zach Guerin.
Yeah, that'll be too many men in the field, as they weren't. South Dakota State did not substitute.
Illegal substitution, more than 11 players in formation, defense, 5-yard penalty, Lane's first down.
Yeah, defensive staff sometimes they just assume that there's going to be a substitution on a big play, but offenses, if they keep everybody on the field, there's no chance to actually substitute. They're not going to hold the ball, and New Hampshire got caught, I think, in an assumption of a substitution, and they got caught with 12 on the field, so that was just a free play. Just get one snapped. It doesn't matter what happens because you got a free 5 yards.
So 1st and 5, Bullock, Smith, and Goring, the receivers, to the top of your screen. Going to keep it on the ground. Loffridge takes a shot, dragging a defender towards the goal line, and they say he is down just shy. It'll be 2nd down and goal from just a few inches out.
Man, again, you're going to see Julius Loffridge breaking tackles and dragging defenders. First contact was made at, what, the 4-yard line? He withstands the first contact, and that white line at the bottom of your screen is the goal line. He might be in, but I think they're going to let the next play happen because, you know, if you're South Dakota State, I don't think they really care. I think they want to play, but it does look like they are going to replay that pass, or that run, excuse me.
The ruling on the field, the runner was stopped short of the goal line. The previous play is under further review.
Yeah, I think he's in. It looked like he was able to keep his, really you're looking, when we do get the replay up, you're going to look for his right shin. That's kind of the thing that's going to potentially end up on the ground. But if that right shin or lower leg is off the ground, he's in, because as he takes that first contact, he's off the ground. He's kind of hopping himself in and creating an angle. So we're really just watching that right shin for the replay.
While Isaiah Jones was hanging on for dear life. And we must say, with these conditions, Jeff, I mean, with the snow, it's going to be that much harder to definitively say, did somebody get to a particular line to gain?
Yeah, and you also don't know exactly where the ball is in his hand relative to where the line is. So I think, you know, one, you're trying to look for, did his shin hit the ground? That's the thing, is if his shin hits the ground, you can assume yeah, there's probably, we can't justify it enough, but if his shin never really hits the ground, because he ended the play with most of his body in the end zone, and all you have to hit is one dimple of that football on one blade of turf on the front of that white line, and really, if you can justify that, it can overturn.
The ruling of the field, the runner was stopped short of the goal line is upheld. Second down.
So again, that's part of the new terminology used by the officials and by the NCAA this year. They did not have enough video evidence to overturn it, so they say upheld. And that doesn't mean they are convicted, saying there's no way he got in. They just didn't have video evidence that made them say for sure that he crossed the goal line. So set up inside the 1. The Jackrabbits looking to cash in on their first drive of the football game. And now this officiating crew from the Southland Conference has a quick huddle up again.
First down on that previous play.
So they did gain the first down. It's 1st and goal from inside the 1. Mason, Loffridge. This time he is in. Touchdown, South Dakota State. 6-0 to start this football game.
And once again, you're getting Julius Loffridge downhill. I mean, that is the nature of a running game here. One of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to run side to side because it forces your running back to make a cut. But what you want to do is run straight downhill. When the guy that you have carrying the ball has the physicality of Julius Loffridge, you go right through the teeth of the defense.
7th touchdown of the season for the senior from Houston, trying to get the Jackrabbits on to round number 2. Again, South Dakota State started the year 7-0, have lost 4 of its last 5, but that coincided with the foot injury suffered by their quarterback Chase Mason, who is back and steers this team right down the field under adverse conditions. The PAT is good by Eli Stater. The Jackrabbits and the Wildcats on a bitter cold afternoon here in South Dakota. It's the Jacks off to the early lead. Back at Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium here in Brookings, South Dakota. The Jacks are on the board first thanks to the short touchdown run by Julius Loffridge. And you and I both went down to the field before kickoff, Jeff, and got a taste of what the conditions are like. What was your sense about just how cold, blustering, and how the footing is out there today?
Yeah, as long as the field has been kind of plowed, which it looks like a little bit of accumulation is going to happen over time. They're going to do their best, as you can see, to get the lines, every 5 yards cleared, and the sidelines. Footing's not great, but it's not horrible if you got cleats. But it's funny, you just look, the entry shot that we had was a fan holding a sign, but these South Dakota fans are so used to it, they've got a laminated sign to protect it from the snow. So this is very familiar territory for fans.
Short kick handled nicely by UNH, and on their first possession of the day, thanks to the good hands of TJ Farrell, they're going to be set up with some very good field position with Matt Vezza, the sophomore quarterback from Elmhurst, Illinois. He has been excellent this year, recently named third team All-CAA.
Yeah, and really, I see a lot of Chase Mason in him. He's obviously not the same size, 6', 200 versus 6'4", 240, but the ball kind of pops out of his hand. He's very calm. He's very comfortable. His head coach called him emotionally stable, which is a really nice compliment for a quarterback.
He has thrown for over 2,600 yards this year and has taken every snap this season for New Hampshire. The running back is Miles Thomason. And on first down, he's got an open receiver, Peyton Strickland, the tight end from Goffstown, New Hampshire. It's a good pickup on first down for the Wildcats. Bryce Johnson in on the tackle.
Yeah, and once again, that's just hitches. You see that Peyton Strickland, who was an all-conference player in the CAA as a fullback. He does play tight end, but he was nominated in the fullback category. And you saw that. It's just a 9 yards turnaround. I'm going to throw it right at your numbers because the defense, again, they have to break, and you know where you're going, which is a huge advantage on the footing that is out there.
The center is Luke Swain. Always important, especially on a weather day like today. Thomason, his first carry, and he's going to have enough for a first down.
A good job by Thomason understanding the game situation. This is not a game, you know, despite South Dakota State having a really productive drive with big plays, it's not a game that you can expect big plays. You can kind of think that they're going to come because you're at some point somebody's going to slip and you can break one. But you're expecting to have to make an 8, 9, 10, 12 play drive to get down there. And Thomason did a good job of knowing where the first down sticks were, putting his shoulder down, getting a new set of downs, allowing that long drive to start.
And at 5'9", 181 pounds, as coaches say, Miles Thomason is the strongest pound-for-pound player on this football team. Play action fake to him. Vezza throws off the hands of Jalen Lee, the free safety, who looked like he'd have himself an easy pick. It would have been his 4th interception of the year.
Yeah, and this is another casualty of the snow. Watch Chase Wilson coming across the middle. He does slip. He almost kind of Scooby-Doos his way around the middle of it, kind of sliding. Well, he wasn't able to make a good jumping attempt at it. That ball was a little bit high. But also as a defensive back in this snow, you're so busy not falling over that you can sometimes forget where the ball is going to be played at. So I don't blame necessarily, despite the fans wanting to, the drop on that interception.
You went Scooby-Doo. I was thinking Fred Flintstone.
Yabba-dabba-doo, Doug.
2nd down and 10. Looks like the pass is caught. Indeed, it's hauled in once again by the tight end Peyton Strickland, who has caught 23 passes this year. In coverage was the defensive captain, the Mike linebacker Joe Ullman.
Yeah, Joe Ullman is he's a big physical dude, and he's going to have to pick up a little bit of slack. Their other extremely talented, likely future NFL player, and Colin McShane, number 5, is out today. So he's going to have to play big, especially in a game that is going to be as in the center of the field as this one's going to be in the running and passing games.
And McShane is their leading tackler. Without him, hopeful that he would be able to return next week if the Jacks advance. Thrown over the middle again, the intended target Peyton Strickland. And so that'll bring up 3rd down and about 4.
Yeah, if you're a defensive player, and really nice coverage there, but if you're a defensive player, it's not like you're going to try and forget the outside of the field because they can obviously throw there, but a lot of outbreaking routes are timing because the ball takes so long to get there that you have to throw it before they're making their cut. Well, you don't know if they can make their cut, so that almost comes off the call sheet entirely. So if you're a defensive player, you got to think everything's in the middle of the field like almost all those passes were. South Dakota State just did a really nice job of defending those passes. Good offensive concepts, just better executed defense.
And I beg your pardon, now 4th down, Guidebeck the punter. Taylor on the reception has a fair catch at about the 12-yard line. And so the Jackrabbits defense gets the football back with 8:48 remaining in the 1st quarter. Last Saturday, the Jackrabbits went on the road indoors at North Dakota and needed a win to secure its place in the FCS playoffs, and got some big plays from both sides. Kobe Claiborne with the strip sack, Logan Green the recovery. That helped to get things to overtime, and a huge play to win this football game, Jeff.
Yeah, and Jack Henry, they had lost their 4 consecutive games, including bad ones against Indiana State, and so there is all the reasons in the world to quit on your season. But that was a playoff game that they absolutely executed, and the guts for Jack Henry to make that play and the significance of that win allowed them to extend that streak, which is an extremely impressive 14 consecutive years of making the playoffs in the FCS.
Yeah, there is truly a standard of excellence around here. They have appeared in 188 consecutive top 25 polls. They are 2-time national champs in 2022 and 23, and while they may not be what they have been in most recent years, the record 8-4 is not nearly as impressive as Loffridge has stood up. We can't impress upon you enough that them losing 4 out of 5 to close the regular season had more to do with who was not at quarterback than who was there today. Chase Mason, ready to lead this team to another run in the FCS playoffs.
Yeah, and Jack Henry, they had mentioned he had gotten better and better, and he needed to in order to get that win against North Dakota. And by doing that, I mean, again, it was a playoff game last week. If they lost, they're out, and that streak is broken, but they managed to do it to get themselves a chance to get their guy back at quarterback.
Bullock, the motion man. Mason hands it off. Loffridge running right, following his blockers. Out in front was Coleman Kuntz for some positive yardage to bring up 3rd down. Cohen Cook, who seems to be everywhere, number 10 for New Hampshire, in on the tackle.
Yeah, he had, I think, multiple Division I basketball offers. He's the best athlete on the team, the coaching staff says. And he wasn't starting at the beginning of the year. He just consistently outworking and outperforming everybody else in the field. And they were like, well, you can't keep this kid off the field. And he's made a tremendous impact.
Yeah, 2,000 career points in high school basketball. He can do a backflip in full pads. They say if he continues on his current trajectory, number 10 could get to the NFL someday. Ball came loose after Goring was tackled. They say he was down. Move the chains. It's another 1st down for South Dakota State.
And this is really what Chase Mason brings. I mean, look how this ball is driven. It's throwing the brakes on it. Again, you saw just the twinkle toes that you have to do if you're going to be trying to stop in this weather with Sean Webb being the one with those twinkle toes. But Chase Mason can drive that ball through the snow to be exactly where it needs to be on time.
Another bullet, another nice catch by Graham Goring, who kept his feet in bounds. It's a pickup of 11. 1st down, Jackrabbits.
Yeah, we're 8 minutes into the game, and that's the first outbreaking route that has been thrown all day. That's the kind of stuff that you can get away with when you have a quarterback like that. You can just see the ball comes out of his hand different. You know, like a good golfer. If you've ever been around and watched a PGA tournament or an LPGA tournament, how fast the ball comes off their club head, you can just feel it. Same thing when you're watching practice. You see Chase Mason, the ball come out of his hand, you can just feel it. It's just different.
Loffridge puts his head down, falls forward for a pickup of 3, and periodically after each play, Jeff, you and I can see it. There is a team of 5 people behind the play with shovels, and they run across the field while play is happening, while guys are coming on and off the field, to try and keep as many of these 5-yard lines clear for use here today. There they are. Just a wild scene here today at Dyke House Stadium.
It's like the floor moppers in a basketball game, just colder and a lot more distance to travel.
Yes. 2nd down pass, good coverage, better catch. Wow. Able to hold on to the football. Coleman Kuntz, the senior from Beaumont, California.
Again, driving a ball through the wind. The wind is picked up. It's not windy, but it is gusty, and you can just see how fast that ball gets on. I mean, the camera, if it was slowed down a couple frames per second, it would just jump. That's how the kind of zip that this thing has. So yeah, it is snowy, but it is still possible to throw the ball when you got an offense like this.
Grayton Gannon goes in motion now to the left side of the formation. 3rd down, going to run for it. And once again, the former Fordham Ram, Julius Loffridge, who is the active leader in career FCS rushing yardage. You mentioned earlier over 4,000 yards. He had 3,000 at Fordham, and he is pushing 1,000 here this season for the Jacks.
Yeah, again, he's all-purpose yards. He's 4,400 yards. He's second in the FCS. He's 4,000 rushing yards, 33 rushing touchdowns. It's an extremely accomplished career, but one of the reasons he wanted to come here is to play in games like this and win.
Young man out of Maid Creek High School in Houston takes a break on the sideline, replaced by Josiah Johnson. Pass over the middle is caught. Coleman Kuntz again, and he is moving the football down the field. Isaiah Jones able to make the tackle for New Hampshire, but Kuntz, who is an NFL prospect in his 5th game back from injury, a huge difference maker so far today.
Yeah, they're really excited to get him back on. And Malik Diaby, nice to meet you. You try and make a tackle in the snow against a guy that's that big. He runs 6'3", 240 and a whole lot of muscle. It's his 5th game back, and they're very excited to have him back for plays like that.
Mason flings it. You see how easy it is for him, regardless of the angle. He finds Goring once again inside the red zone. It's another first down for SDSU.
And I know listeners and viewers may get a little irritated with us heaping praise on this, but just how rare this talent is. He comes from he drops sidearm. He did play baseball at Nebraska, and he's got all the tools that MLB scouts were very interested in for him, and just stuff like that where you can just flick it 70 miles an hour from a sidearm in the snow. Again, that's an extremely rare talent.
Handed off to Josiah Johnson. He was the last guy in the running back room coming into the season. Freshman, a true freshman walk-on from Milwaukee. He's coming off his career best performance, 19 carries, 76 yards in the regular season finale at North Dakota. Why has this gentleman, who answers apparently to yes sir and no sir to every coach all the time, what makes him so special?
Well, he just runs hard, and in this offense you're going to get movement with the offensive line. And we were talking to Coach Jackson the other day, and it's like, we had to teach him how to cut. Like, hey, don't run into your guard's spine. You can probably make a cut and get 30 yards, and he's learning how to play the position to add to his effort.
Give it to him again on 2nd down and 8. Keeps his footing. The pile continues to move forward inside the 5 and down to about the 2-yard line, although it looks like they will mark him down back at the 4.
Yeah, and that massive humanity, it's hard to see where the ball actually stops and where the ball carrier is actually down. But this is the style game, and I think the worse the footing and the windier it is, the more it favors South Dakota State. Not because they're tougher or whatever, they're just a bigger team. And when you can't really go laterally that much and you're trying to go through the other one, size matters. So South Dakota State, the windier and worse the weather is, the better it is for them based on play style.
Under 2 minutes to go, first quarter. Johnson straight ahead. He is upended, dropped by Cole Bullock, shy of the goal line, but it is a first down for the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, good job by Bullock to come hit at the legs of these running backs. When you're trying to react, you don't have a lot of time, so you want to be the hammer and not the nail when you're playing tackle. And he's a Montana State transfer. He's the only old guy in the room. And I say old guy, there's 23, so it's not like he's old, but all the rest of the linebackers and most of this defense are freshmen and sophomores, so him being an upperclassman, a lot of guys have looked to him as the experience needed.
Officials waiting for the substitutions, and let's see if they keep it in the hands of the true freshman walk-on Johnson. Here he goes, and he walks into the end zone. South Dakota State now with a 13-0 lead, and why not a snow angel on a day like today?
Oh man, you gotta love it. A guy doing a snow angel in the end zone, unless you're a New Hampshire Wildcat. This has been it's kind of the worst case scenario for New Hampshire to start this game, giving up 2 touchdown drives right out of the gate, but only possessing the ball for a little bit of time, because that defense is going to be on the field a lot. And again, they're undersized, so you're going to have to make some plays. And giving up easy touchdown runs like this that's solid technique on a snow angel. But giving up easy touchdowns like this on early drives is really pushing it hard, because you're not going to be able to create explosives. You accidentally happen into explosives on offense in the snow.
Again, the temperature is 20 degrees. The wind chill is 2. The PAT by State are out of the hold of Max Pelham, makes it 14-0. Chase Mason on that drive, 5 for 5 passing, capped off by the touchdown from Johnson. Everybody here in Brookings, South Dakota, just trying to stay warm. Get out of the wind when you can and have a quick impromptu meeting inside of whatever that is. 14-0 Jackrabbits with the lead late in the first quarter over New Hampshire. And a rolling kick handled by DeMontre Patterson. He is lightning in space, not a big guy, but he can make you miss even in these conditions. Wrapped up for the Wildcats offense to come back out of the field for a second time. And there is a look at the first-year head coach Dan Jackson. Came back to South Dakota State where he had been a linebacker because of a series of injuries, Jeff, during his playing days. He left, wound up getting his degree not playing football at Nebraska Omaha back in 2008. And he wasn't sure he was going to be a football coach. He thought, well, I'll be a Spanish teacher. I'll coach a JV high school football team. But one thing has led to another, and now he is back at a place that means so much to him.
Yeah, and he said, you know, in all the coaching carousel, and you listen to all the stuff about Lane Kiffin and who's going where and who's going where, he said it just means more when you really care about the people, the university, and the community in places like Brookings. And wherever you end up being, you want to care about everything about it.
Well, what a wonderful conversation we had with him yesterday afternoon after their practice out here at Dykehouse Stadium. And like you said, you can tell that it means more. He has true passion for this program as he continues what's been an incredible legacy of Jackrabbits football. 1 yard gain by the quarterback Veza, chased out of bounds by Joe Ullman, brings up 2nd down and 9. The running back is Denzel Gibson. He gets his first opportunity to run the rock. Solid pickup on 2nd down to stay on schedule, and it'll be 3rd down and manageable on the first play of the second quarter.
I like that run. I like getting downhill. This is a big drive for New Hampshire, making sure that they can answer, whether score with the points or at least giving their defense time to make adjustments.
That's the end of the first quarter with the Jackrabbits on top 14-0. No trouble in the weather. Chase Mason 8 of 10 passing for 96 yards and a couple of rushing touchdowns so far here this afternoon. Former Wildcats All-American quarterback Rick Santos is in his 4th year as head coach at his alma mater, and he is just the 3rd Wildcats head coach since 1972. Bill Bowes was in charge for 27 years, Sean McDonald 22 years. Santos says, quote, "I am truly grateful for this opportunity." He's got to get his offense going on the first play of the second quarter. It's a near interception. In coverage was Aiden Dauterman, and the senior from Hartford, Wisconsin, poked the ball away. And there is again a look at the 41-year-old native of Bellingham, Massachusetts, Rick Santos, who played professional football, had a chance with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then played 4 years in the Canadian Football League. And for him to be in Durham, New Hampshire, about 10 minutes outside of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, at this very proud football program, it means a lot to him.
Yeah, it does. And it reminds me of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, you go from Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher to Mike Tomlin, and that's it. That consistency. I mean, it's the brand that they have, which is discipline, and they just love playing football and love each other at that university.
Big collision on the run back off the guide back punt. And that was Isaiah Garcia Castaneda on that return. So there's what we're talking about. I could only find a comparable story with the Iowa Hawkeyes, where you've had continuity at the head coaching position with what they have had there at the Seacoast in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and they've been in the playoffs a lot too. It's not like they've been around and it's just a nice guy that they don't want to fire because he's, you know, does the important part of developing people. He does the important part of developing people, but then they also win. And those two things together are a very rare match, and to have 3 of them in a row, I mean, that's nearly unheard of in today's college athletics.
And again, Coach Santos said he was taught toughness by his coach and predecessor, Sean McDonald. Both he and Coach Bowes are still living in Durham, New Hampshire, and around the program. Here come the Jackrabbits one more time. Did he step out of bounds or no? He stayed in bounds all the way until Cohen Cook brought him down. Jack Smith with a huge play for South Dakota State.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to show up in the replay, but number 13, Malik Diaby, is the corner that's playing contain there. He goes to cut back out as he was following a receiver in. Well, his foot slipped. He wasn't able to come back out and make contain. South Dakota State breaks contain and gets a big play in the running game.
Chase Mason continues to put the football where it needs to be. Graham Goring covered by Darren Burton. It didn't matter. Move the chains again as Goring delivers.
That's a great ball. It's putting it out of harm's way. Anytime you're throwing outside, up and away is where you want to put it, because up and away is away from the defender, and if you miss, it's an incompletion. If you give it to a catchable ball, Goring's going to do something like that.
From the 17-yard line, the screen pass to Smith again. They say he stays in bounds on the tackle made by grad student Duncan Moreland.
That's an excellent tackle in open space. Yeah, the offense knows where they're going, but you can force them to be a reactionary as opposed to being the ones that sets the direction of the play. So going to his inside hip, Moreland did a really nice job of cornering that wide receiver and not giving him anywhere to go.
So it was a loss of 1 on the play. 2nd down and 11. Mason hands it off to Julius Loffridge, protecting that football and driving all the way to the 10-yard line.
Yeah, and that was Cohen Cook in there making the first hit, but no one has made the tackle on the first hit so far on Loffridge.
Give it to Loffridge again. And again, ball security is going to be so key on this cold and blustery day. And as it stands, the running backs for South Dakota State have done a good job. It's another first down run for Loffridge.
Yeah, and Tim Bonagura there, number 93, did get penetration. It looked like he might have gotten a little bit held there, but no call, no foul, which anytime you have something like that and you go, I got held, you have to store that in your head, sort of like a baseball umpire. If they're giving you the outside of the black, you on the other side have to take advantage of plays like that.
Loffridge is closing in on 1,000 yards rushing for the season. He stays on 1st and goal at about the 5-yard line. It's Loffridge. And he is stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. He was trying to follow the tight end Grayton Gannon, but the New Hampshire defense was ready.
Yeah, DJ Johnson from the backside of that play did a really nice job of forcing everything back to help. And anytime you see a big play, it either comes from break and contain or a really good combination block that gets up to the second level. Those are the two things that happen. Well, if the contain collapses in, it doesn't really allow the blocks to start. So you can destroy both by doing a really nice job at defensive end like they just did with DJ Johnson.
And so it's another tackle for loss for this Wildcats defense, trying to bow up and keep the Jackrabbits out of the end zone. Mason throws to the end zone, deflected, caught, touchdown! Alex Bullock with his 5th touchdown reception of the season.
My goodness. Malik Diaby did everything right on that play. He did everything right. He came off the coverage. He got underneath the pass. He made contact with his hand to the ball. But Bullock just did a better job of following it all the way in. He's going to see the tip, and that is absolutely a catch. It was contained. His left arm, that sleeved arm, was underneath the ball. I mean, these South Dakota State Jackrabbits, if they play like this, you do not want to see them in the rest of this tournament if they're executing at this level.
It's just a different team than what we saw in late October and for most of the month of November without their starting quarterback Chase Mason. He is back, and it looks like they are picking up where they left off. Out of the hold of Max Pelham, it'll be Eli Stater again for his 3rd attempt at a PAT today. It is up and good. Stater, the grad student from Cedar Grove, Wisconsin, makes it 21-0.
Yeah, we mentioned Malik Diaby. He did everything he can, but you know what? The playoffs is players make plays, and Bullock made a play right there to put his Jackrabbits up 21-0 in the second quarter.
We take you back inside the 2 sheds to try and stay warm outside of the wind. Wind chills are around 0 here in Brookings, South Dakota this afternoon, but it has not slowed down the 14th ranked Jackrabbits, who are on top 21-0. Chase Mason has completed his last 10 pass attempts to 5 different receivers, although he's got some help from his receivers, especially on that touchdown that we just saw that could wind up on the Sports Center top 10.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Jackson. He said that his player Chase Mason very rarely puts it in harm's way. Well, that was in harm's way, but it was an okay outcome if you're a Jackrabbit.
After the touchback, we'll see if the Wildcats offense can get it going.
Yeah, currently the total yardage being 226 to 22 it's a huge problem if you're New Hampshire, partially because yes, you're down 21-0. That's bad, but also the fact that you didn't plan for Mason to be in there. You were like contingency planning. So you're going to have to make adjustments. Well, if your offense isn't out there that long, you don't have time to make those adjustments. So this isn't necessarily a must score because they're obviously in the second quarter and things can happen, but it's almost a must score for the pace of this game and how it's going.
Matt Vezza hands it off on first down, trying to pick his way into the secondary. Nice job of running the football. It is a 8 or 9 yard pickup on the legs of Denzel Gibson, the sophomore from Bellwood, Illinois. And we showed you the graphic about time of possession. Both of these teams are top 5 nationally in the FCS in that category, but so far it has been completely one-sided this afternoon.
Yeah, and going into this, one of the things that I was really concerned with is third down conversions. And right now, UNH has, I believe they've converted 1 third down in the entire game, which that puts the other team right back in the field. And Chase Mason is the other team at this point.
Yeah, they have only 31 total yards so far. Trouble at the mesh point. Vezza along with Gibson, they weren't sure who was going to have the football, and so no gain on the play to bring up third down.
Really nice job there by the South Dakota State defense of crossing up the blocking scheme of what UNH wanted to do, which allowed penetration by 2 players, more by confusion than missed blocks. But Vezza did a good job of understanding, I got to get back to the line of scrimmage, keep it 3rd and very, very short, because 3rd and 2 is doable. 3rd and 7 in these conditions is much harder.
Those who have braved the conditions are making noise here on 3rd down and short. Timeout, New Hampshire.
Timeout, New Hampshire. Their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout. Correction.
Well, back at the University of New Hampshire, they are hoping to see this offense get something going, but it'll start with trying to convert 3rd down and short. Timeout on the field. Early second quarter, all Jackrabbits so far in this first round FCS playoff game.
The College Football Playoff Selection Show. The bracket will be filled. Judgment Day is here.
Welcome back to Brookings, South Dakota, and I have to correct something I had said before the break. I thought New Hampshire had converted 1 third down so far. Right now, they're 0 for 2, where South Dakota State is 5 for 5 as they face a 3rd and 2 here, already down by 3 touchdowns. They don't get much bigger in a second quarter than these right now that they have to convert.
They spread out the formation on 3rd and short for the quarterback, Matt Vezza. The only one in front of him, the center, Luke Swain. They fake the jet sweep. Vezza trying to throw, rolling out. keeps the play alive, loses his footing, and he is drilled shy of the line to gain by Bryce Johnson. The linebacker getting the start today in place of Cullen McShane makes a huge play out in space.
Yeah, and Bryce Johnson was competing to be the starter prior to the season before Cullen McShane beat him out. And you also might be wondering, why on a 3rd and this are you doing that type of play? Well, last week they were 1 for 11 on scoring touchdowns inside the 4-yard line against Maine. So their short yardage, they need to be more creative. They just weren't able to execute on that against this South Dakota State defense.
And now New Hampshire, #1 in the country in 4th down conversion, going for it. And that percentage of 30 goes up. And still on his feet is Denzel Gibson. A huge risk and a huge reward for the Wildcats.
That's a terrific call. Really getting downhill. You knew that South Dakota State was going to try and bring pressure because they need to stop you behind the line of scrimmage. They bring both linebackers, but you run a full zone. Everybody blocks to the right, and if you can capture that blitz, it allows your bigger running back, who's 5'10", 225, to get downhill in the snow. That's a huge 4th down conversion to keep this drive going.
Casey McKinney back on, Logan Perez out. McKinney is wide to the right of the formation. Veza gonna hand it off to Gibson again. And again, good yardage off the legs of the sophomore from Bellwood, Illinois on 1st down. Kobe Claiborne, a defensive tackle for South Dakota State, in on the tackle.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, in horse racing, they call them, if they run well in the rain, they call them mutters.
Yep.
Denzel Gibson looks like their mutter. And when you're trying to play in weather like this, Miles Thomason is 5'9", 180. He's really good in open space, but you take away his quickness when you make the field icy. Denzel Gibson wants to run through your face mask, and that's why he's taking the lion's share of these carries.
Yeah, he's a young man who was a redshirt freshman last year, came on strong as the season got later, playing a big role again this year. He averages better than 5 yards per carry on the season, and he has been very productive on this drive.
Yeah, he's usually the changeup to Miles Thomason, where Miles Thomason is kind of the scat, fast, do everything back. Well, then Gibson comes in and becomes kind of the sledgehammer. Well, right now a sledgehammer is really the only tool you need, and they've run basically the same play 3 times in a row, which is full zone to the right, cut off your left tackle, and that's what they've been effective at. And see what changes South Dakota State's going to make after 3 big chunk plays on the ground.
On their first sustained drive of the afternoon, New Hampshire goes back to the air on 1st down. Veza to Fillion, who throws toward the end zone. Incomplete, the double pass. The first was backwards, and so it was a legal pass, but Fillion just couldn't deliver the football where it needed to be.
Oh, and that's a big miss. You can't run those plays twice. You only get one in the chamber, and they've talked about they have to be creative with when they run the ball and where they run the ball. You expect it to be a 1st down run. Well, then they run a double pass on 1st down to try and keep you off balance, to keep that defensive front, which is the strength of this South Dakota State defense, to keep them less aggressive in the running game. That's a big miss there by Fillion.
Because Peyton Strickland was behind the defense. So back to the ground on 2nd down and 10 to Gibson. And again, making a team miss tackles. And this is a team of just 7 tackles last week at North Dakota. We talked to defensive coordinator Brian Bergstrom about that. He says toes to the tackle. It's so important. Be violent. Whatever it takes, get the guy on the ground. They are having trouble right now getting Gibson on the ground.
Yeah, toes to the tackle is hard when you're getting your shoulder snapped by a running back. Kobe Bretz just met Denzel Gibson and did not like the meeting that he just had.
3rd down and short. Veza to the air, and it's knocked down, batted down by Logan Green, one of the captains up front, and one of the farm kids on this roster. He was a high school state champion wrestler, a walk-on, now on scholarship, now a captain, making a huge play on 3rd down.
Yeah, he really jumps out on film, not so much at this point in the game, but he is such a hard worker. He's an Iowa farm kid that he doesn't get tired. Wrestlers, the whole point of wrestling is to try and ground your opponent into the dirt. And he does that, and he gets better as the game goes along. So he's a mutter, exactly what you want in weather conditions like this.
Out of Clarinda High School in Iowa, going to try to make another play here on 4th down and 1. Gibson into the pile, and the spot will be crucial. It is a first down for New Hampshire.
Situational football is really, really big. You know, and in the playoffs, guys got to make plays. Well, this is making a play. You have an unblocked defender on the backside. They left him unblocked on purpose because they're reading him. Well, Veza gave the ball off. Well, that guy becomes a free tackler. So you have a free tackler that's coming, and if there's a quarterback and a running back, that's 2. They got 11. There's 2 unblocked that are going to be there all the time. So that unblocked safety, unblocked defensive end, you got to make both of those past the line to gain. Nothing fancy. Put your shoulder down and get it. Nice job there by Gibson.
Peyton Strickland is the lead back. Veza instead going to throw the football into single coverage, and it's incomplete. In the end zone was Casey McKinney. And there is a flag back in the backfield.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer, number 47. Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
So a huge call against Kighton Fife.
Yeah, and this is a roughing the passer play, which was really just disrupted. Yeah, there's kind of 2 elements of it. As much as South Dakota State fans might not like it, there was contact to his face by both hands of the defensive player. I didn't quite catch the number, but both of his hands hit his face, but then there's also that kind of forcible landing. So it was kind of excessive contact and contact to the head. So as much as you may not like it, that was the right call.
Kighton Fife, the defender. There he is, number 47, the junior from Grand Island, Nebraska. So it is 1st and goal from inside the 10-yard line. Looks like maybe a direct snap now to Denzel Gibson as he is shifted behind the center. Fakes the handoff, and he's going to try to run, but was not fooling anybody. It's Logan Green one more time with a big tackle for loss.
Yeah, Logan Green and Bryce Johnson combined for that. And, you know, I mentioned on the previous drive that New Hampshire did a really nice job of collapsing everything down. Well, if you're trying to run sideways, penetration up the middle forces the running back to bubble backwards. And if you have to bubble backwards in the snow, all of your momentum, your capacity to cut, and all the timing of the blocks is gone. And so that penetration up the middle there by Green blew that play up before it could get going.
And it seems strange to me that the running back would fake the handoff to the quarterback. Why not just go?
Well, you can set it up for later. Now, if you do want to give the ball to the quarterback, you can throw it off of that later in the game if you're setting that package up.
Let's see what UNH has on 2nd down. Veza tripped up. Looked like Kobe Claiborne, who was engaged with the offensive lineman. Their legs got tangled and Veza went down.
And this is when we were talking at the very start, kind of the disadvantage of passing in the snow for the offense. Wide receivers and quarterbacks know where they're going, but watch the offensive linemen who are trying to put their feet in the ground. You see number 55, Tolu Olajide, he's trying to get his feet in the ground to stop the bull rush, but you don't know where your footing is. So you're trying to pass block on ice. So the bull rush of the defensive line has the advantage in snow. I don't think you're going to have a lot of time to get it here. So my guess is if they want to score a touchdown in this drive, they're going to try and get it to the 8 or 7 yard line and then hope somebody can break a tackle or convert on 4th down.
Veza flush from the pocket. Now he's going to run the football. Drilled at the 10. He's still going and out of bounds at about the 7 yard line. Joe Ullman was among those who popped him, but Veza was undeterred.
That's exactly what you need to do. Again, they're trying to get to the 8 or 7 yard line because you're just trying to make a 4th down possible. Now, it does look like they are going to run the kicking unit on the field, but that's still a big gain, even if you're going to go for the field goal, because this wind is gusting up from the time the game started. So this is a big conversion, and I think if the conditions were better, if they were able to set their feet and pass, I really like Veza in situations like this, but without being able to control where it's going and without being able to pass protect, field goal is probably the smarter decision at this point in the game.
Nick Reed. The kick is up, and there is a flag before the snap.
Delay game, offense. 5 yard penalty. Remains 4th down.
So that'll make it a little bit tougher, 5 yards farther away for the kicker, who his head coach Rick Santos says has an NFL leg. But like you said, the wind continues to change directions as well. The first quarter, the wind was going into the face of where he is kicking now. It appears to be more with him at the moment. So a 27 yard attempt out of the hold of Matt Guidebeck. It's clean. The kick is up, and it is off the upright and through. So the first sustained drive of the game for the Wildcats turns into 3 points by Nick Reed. Sure, UNH would have loved to have punched it in, but they are on the board, now down 21-3. The NCAA FCS Championship continues with second round coverage next Saturday on ESPN+. For more information, visit ncaa.com, the home for all NCAA championships. And the winner of this game will head to Montana next week to face the third seeded team that was an automatic qualifier. There were 11 automatic qualifiers out of the 24 team field, 13 at-large bids. And it's all leading up to the FCS National Championship game January 5th in Nashville on ESPN.
Yeah, the winner of this game gets to travel to the mountains in beautiful Missoula, Montana to play a very physical team out there in the Grizzlies.
So after New Hampshire kicked a field goal, they kick the ball back to the Jackrabbits. Up the middle, Miles Green. And the Jackrabbits will have good starting field position for Chase Mason and the offense. Well, there's no tee-fetching dog named Jem who made the trip for New Hampshire after that kickoff. Back in New Hampshire, when they play a home game, they've got a dog who goes out and picks up that tee out there.
Yeah, I noticed that because when you watch film, the first shot of film is always the down and distance. They show the scoreboard. So after touchdowns, they have a dog that goes out and fetches the tee, and you just get to see that little fluffy dog butt that's going out there and getting the tee.
Well, I, for one, am glad that the dog didn't make the trip because the conditions are not good for Jem to be out there retrieving a tee.
I mean,
there's Jem, hopefully
how cute she
watching
is.
On ESPN Plus right now, staying warm.
Can you imagine how happy she is every time she gets to go get the tee?
Fantastic. Jem the Dungeon Dog.
Good girl.
Second down and 5. First down and more. Push down from behind after a big pickup by James Basinger. Sean Webb with the stop. And that brings us to the 2-minute timeout. South Dakota State trying to put more points on the board before the intermission here in Brookings, South Dakota. With Jeff Woody, I'm Doug Sherman back in Brookings, South Dakota. And with some extreme weather conditions, you'd think it would be tough to throw the football. That has been the case for UNH so far, but no problem at all for South Dakota State.
Yeah, and what difference does Chase Mason make? You know, we've harped on it. We've said a lot about how good Chase Mason is. Veza's an all-conference quarterback, and they're 2 for 7. He's 12 for 14, and every single ball is on the money, and the incompletions are either throwaways or a nearly missed.
Pass caught by Jack Smith down the sideline. He has himself a free lane to the end zone. Touchdown, South Dakota State. And into the snow pile they go. It has been snowing all week long, so the piles at the end of the field are big enough for these big boys to jump in and have a little fun.
Yeah, and at this point, you're up 27-3. The Jackrabbits are having quite a bit of fun, and this is the kind of stuff that you dream about when you're a kid, and you're out in the backyard in the middle of December in the upper Midwest or the Northeastern, and you got to dive into the snowbank to catch that touchdown. We didn't dive into the snowbank to catch it. He dove in after he caught it after a terrific ball and terrific play, which we'll get to after this.
4th receiving touchdown of the year from Jack Smith. He also had a 75-yard run. A little trouble with the snap, and so the point after is covered. And the score remains 27-3, South Dakota State.
Yeah, and the Mason thing, again, the accuracy matters. The arm strength matters. If this ball is put behind him, especially in the snow, he can't get his momentum going, and he's able to get Duncan Moreland's able to get a tackle or push him out of bounds, but that ball is right on the front side of his shoulder, allowing him to keep his momentum going all the way into that snowbank. And I don't think those guys were blocking that hard into the snowbank. It feels like that was, you know what, that was extra. That was extra, but they deserved it.
Well, again, that was the versatile Jack Smith with his first touchdown of the day. Young man out of Lincoln High School in Sioux Falls, about an hour south of here. From the throw of Chase Mason. And to tell you about Chase Mason, he went to the University of Nebraska on a baseball scholarship, played fall ball, but then decided, you know what, I miss playing football. So he came back to the Dakotas, where he grew up in Hurley, South Dakota. But he gave up a baseball career where he threw the baseball 94 miles an hour. He hit 400-foot home runs. MLB draft expert Jim Callis projected that if he had been drafted and went to the big leagues, he could potentially be a 25 home run, 25 stolen base guy. But he wanted to play football for the Jackrabbits. He has turned down scholarship offers from bigger programs. He wants to be here. His coach thinks he could be the next Josh Allen, to go from a smaller school, a big athletic strong guy, and be an impact player in the NFL.
Yeah, and one of the things that you just get when you have great talents that are also great people, and when you get that great people that are also great players, it just, the vibes get better. And you know, vibes is sort of like a silly word sometimes, but the energy that exists between players is that, you know, I've used the example before. If you're a shortstop in baseball and your first baseman's Freddie Freeman, and you can just chuck it anywhere, somewhere close, anywhere near him, and he's going to pick it up, you feel really comfortable as a shortstop. Just get to the ball, throw it towards first base, he's going to make a play. Well, when your quarterback is that guy, I can do anything. If I get near my block, it's going to be good. If I make a tackle, we're going to win. Just the vibes and confidence of everybody goes up because of number 7.
Matt Veza throws flat-footed. And on the screenplay, it's a 4-yard gain for New Hampshire. On the receiving end, Logan Perez, sophomore from Sewell, New Jersey. Another tackle by Joe Ullman, who is their leading tackler of all active players coming in today for the Jackrabbits.
Again, Veza's a baseball guy too, so you can see that flat-footed stance, just flicking the ball over. There is a little bit of Chase Mason in Matt Veza.
Well, they say he's unflappable. That pass there, the intended receiver was the running back Denzel Gibson. But Veza, 5'11", but he's got a moxie about him. 3rd-team All-CAA this year. The numbers are extremely good, and once again, he has taken every snap for New Hampshire this season. Yeah,
they say he's comfortable and unhurried. I mean, that's the thing, that he's not trying to put anything in harm's way, but I think that unhurried is getting rattled a little bit by this really good Jackrabbits front.
And he learned as a true freshman behind current Vikings quarterback Max Brosmer, who, by the way, is expected to make his first NFL start tomorrow for the Minnesota Vikings. Gibson, huge hole. And once again, able to break tackles. It's a first down run for the big sophomore out of Immaculate Conception High School in Illinois.
And you need about a second per yard if you want to make a drive all the way down. They've got 2 timeouts there, if you can't tell, just behind the 50-yard line. So they've got plenty of time. They don't have to be in a crazy hurry to get down the field.
Beza flushed. Gets a great block from Gibson. It's another first down for New Hampshire.
And if that is going to open up, if the defensive tackles don't keep pocket protection and they separate, as you can see these defensive linemen both do at the same time, and that lane opens up, absolutely take that for Matt Beza.
Now it's Gibson's turn. He's hit at the line of scrimmage by Jace Syfor, the junior defensive tackle from Howard, South Dakota.
Timeout, New Hampshire. Their second charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
So time is called with 54 seconds to go in the half.
55 seconds. Thank you.
Jeff, what, if anything, has New Hampshire figured out here in the second quarter on offense that they've been able to possess the football and move it down the field?
Well, I think they've stopped trying to. What the game plan going in was, they're going to be able to operate in space better than South Dakota State. And they want to get it to kind of between the hashes and the numbers. They want to get it out a little bit to operate because they feel like, and what film would indicate is that their skill guys are really good. Well, you got to throw that game plan out the window because the weather is not allowing you to get to that part of the field. So they've completely switched the subject, and they put Denzel Gibson in, and they played, I'm going to run right through your face. And they've done it really well so far in the last couple drives.
This is their 19th all-time appearance in the FCS playoffs. New Hampshire trying to put some points back on the board before the break. Beza gets hit, keeps the football, slides forward, gets hit. They're going to mark him just short of the first down line as head coach Rick Santos wanted a flag.
And I kind of agree with Coach Santos. Anytime a quarterback tries to give himself up like number 9 did there, he gave himself up in a slide, and that in that slide you can't make forcible contact. And I'm guessing what they said there is that Jalen Lee, the safety there, was trying to get over him and just happened to hit him. As he did pull off a little bit, it looked, I'm guessing they said it looked worse than it is.
Third final touchdown out of the half to avoid a 10-second runoff.
Referee Matt Beck giving us the indication that New Hampshire will use their final timeout rather than on an injured player. If you do not use the timeout, you have the ball, the clock is moving, you'd have to have a 10-second runoff. They elected to use their timeout to do that. But I agree that I feel like that should have been a penalty. But again, they didn't get it once on the other side where Mason was sliding. They didn't get it on this one with Beza. You got 42 seconds left and no timeouts. You are in dicey field goal range in these conditions, so you're going to want to get at least another 10 or so yards closer. But at 27-3, this thing needs to end up in the checkerboard that you can't see in the end zone.
Good to see Tolu Olajide walk off under his own power. And so a switch at left tackle. Third down, less than 2. Beza rolling right. He could run for it and will. Able to get out of bounds as well to stop the clock at 35.
It's very smart. So far, I've been really impressed on this drive with Beza's understanding of the situation. You're going to get a lot more coverage that's a little bit in known passing situations. Defensive line is going to be more aggressive running. Coverage is going to be a little bit more aggressive towards your wide receivers, which means there's going to be more space for you. And so understanding where's the free space on the field, getting out of bounds, preserving that clock, 35 seconds with about 30 yards to go.
Beza on first down, put some air underneath it, ball deflected and intercepted. Casey McKinney, the receiver, thought he had a shot at it, but he batted the ball in the air, and Isaiah Johnson came away with the interception.
And that's a really nice play. It's another, as the referees described, that it is going to be called an interception. I think an interesting part of this that they may take a look at is, was he out of bounds prior to touching it? Because if any part of him contacts the sideline, he becomes an ineligible receiver. From our angle, it didn't look like he was, but we'll see if it actually is.
previous play is under further review.
And did he knock the ball with his legs before it hit the ground, or did it bounce off the ground before he caught it?
I actually think he possessed the ball, but by the time he did gain possession,
he had slid out of bounds.
Some part of his body was on the white line of the sideline. So I think he's gonna, if it's me, I think there is enough evidence to indicate that the ball was being bobbled until he was out of bounds, and then once any part of you touches the sideline, the rest of you becomes ineligible to actually make the reception. You become part of the ground. Incomplete pass. Here, my guess, or what I would do is rule this as an incomplete pass, not controlled until he's out of bounds.
Well, you can tell the transfer from Division II Bemidji State, who had 4 interceptions last year, thinks he's got one here. And again, credit to the grounds crew here in Brookings to constantly be clearing snow off of the sidelines and every yard line from goal line to goal line, so they've got at least a fighting chance to figure out plays like this.
Yeah, and they might let it stand because there's not enough to say, well, yes, part of his jersey was on that white line. They might let it stand, but again, to me, I would say incomplete pass, second down.
After further review, the ruling on the field of an interception is upheld. First down, South Dakota State.
Well, the young man from Chicago Heights, Illinois, happy about that call. The 23rd takeaway of the season for Brian Bergstrom's defense.
Yeah, and that was a really big takeaway because UNH gets the ball at half, coming out of half. So they theoretically, even if they did nothing, you got an potential All-American kicker who is able to get this to 6, and then you get the ball and then a touchdown, and all of a sudden it becomes a game again. But getting that takeaway and keeping those points off the board is really big to end the half with as good as South Dakota State played for all 30 minutes of the first half.
And takeaways were a huge part of the formula for the Jackrabbits throughout the start of the season, but they had not been coming up with as many interceptions lately when they finished the regular season 1-4. But a big pick by Isaiah Johnson secures a 27-3 lead heading into the locker room.
Yeah, that's about as good as you could ask for it to go if you're South Dakota State. Getting a 27-3 lead in the playoffs at home in very South Dakota weather.
Well, in the pregame, we saw several players on both sides going shirtless. Jeff, you going to go shirtless in the second half?
I will not.
I'm not going shirtless in the second half. It is cold here in Brookings, but the home team keeping it warm, up 27-3 in this opening round game of the FCS playoffs. Back with our halftime report after this.
Welcome back to ESPN's coverage of the FCS Playoffs. I'm Matt Schick. South Dakota State is one of those FCS programs you expect to be in the playoffs every year. But this year was different. From the beginning, long before week one, the Jackrabbits knew 2025 would be unlike any season they have experienced. They knew that returning to the playoffs in search of a third national title in 4 seasons would require a kind of fortitude that transcends the playing field. Jeremy Schaap has more.
The coronation is complete. South Dakota State has won back-to-back national titles.
In 2024, South Dakota State pursued a three-peat, but was knocked out of the FCS tournament in the semifinals by its arch-rival, North Dakota State. 7 days later, head coach Jimmy Rogers, an SDSU alumnus, announced he was leaving for Washington State.
There were some people that were angry, A, that Jimmy was leaving, B, that he was making an effort to bring a lot of his players with him, his recruits with him. He brought his whole staff with him.
It was hectic because I really didn't know what to do. I was only here for about 8 months before, and so that's all I kind of knew was how Coach Rogers ran things around here and that staff. So I kind of thought like my only option was to leave.
It all came so fast, and we couldn't talk to the coaches that really left at the time, and we didn't know who our new coaches were, so it was just a weird feeling and a weird time.
Along with Rogers and his assistants, 16 players made the move to Pullman. Amid the upheaval, it seemed all that had been built here at South Dakota State might collapse.
It was very taxing mentally, just not knowing and really not being able to control much. That was very difficult to process.
On New Year's Eve, 3 days after Rogers' departure, South Dakota State hired his replacement, another member of the Jackrabbits fraternity, Dan Jackson.
Don't lose sight of the fact that the journey is the reward.
What does this place mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, not only was my dream to be a head football coach, my dream was to be the head football coach at South Dakota State. So it's rewarding to be here.
He's not just here to win football games. That's important, no question. He's here to develop student athletes, but he's invested in the community, he's invested in the university. And around here, people feel that. Like, that matters.
Right there, let's go.
He played here. He was an assistant coach here for 8 seasons. But he also coached in the SEC as an assistant at Vanderbilt. And he was the defensive coordinator at Idaho. Then he came home again.
Dan Jackson's hired. Okay, that's great. He's got to put together a staff. And he's got to go to every one of the players and convince them to stay.
I knew that we were coming into some chaos, but you just get to work. I literally took that sheet of paper and I just started calling them one by one. Phone calls till midnight and getting up at 6 in the morning and just going again and taking notes and who's in, who's out, while also trying to assemble a staff.
In the days following his return to Brookings, Jackson built a new coaching staff, leaning on the Jackrabbits brotherhood.
Sit back, good. Bring your hips wide moving.
Hiring the staff was critical for me to have the right amount of Jackrabbits that knew and loved South Dakota State.
You talk about having 3 coordinators, your offensive, your defensive, and your special teams coordinator who have gone other places, and they wanted to come back.
Jackson had stabilized the program, but then, on June 25th, all of the Jackrabbits' football challenges suddenly seemed insignificant.
Some sad news out of Brookings tonight. South Dakota State University Athletics says running back Nate White has passed away. He was 20 years old.
A transfer from Wisconsin, looking forward to his first season in Brookings, Nate White had died in his sleep from natural causes. A medical event had disrupted his breathing and heart functions.
The initial thing is calling his mom, which was the biggest challenge, and I wanted to be the one to do that.
You told her.
Yep. She, try to not relive those moments a ton, but calling Crystal was tough. But I didn't want her to hear that from anybody other than the head football coach.
I remember just going in the stairwell in that building, just crying for a long time. It was like the whole football change happened, and then that happens, at a certain part, you kind of just feel like hopeless in a way.
It was just devastating for all of us to kind of just hear that. But the biggest thing was coming together that night, putting a memorial together for his family, and just coming together as a team.
This season, the Jackrabbits have committed themselves to honoring Nate White by playing every down as brothers. And that's exactly what they did in Week 2 at third-ranked Montana State.
When you got 2 versus 3, I mean, this thing is as big as it gets.
It was a crazy environment, one of the best in FCS, and we were put to the test. We were down, and then we were up, and then back down, and going to overtime. That was kind of where you see, like, we stuck together.
Wow, this is going to be so close.
And he is short.
Short of the first down.
Wow. South Dakota State once again knocks off Montana State.
Our guys have been through so much that, you know, any sort of adversity that hits in the game isn't going to faze them. We're just going to keep rolling.
That was a big win for Dan. That was a big win for everyone in this program to say, okay, we can be the same kind of team under Dan Jackson that we were under Jimmy Rogers and John Stiegelmeier.
To start the season, South Dakota State reeled off 7 consecutive wins. But then quarterback Chase Mason suffered a foot injury, and the Jackrabbits lost 4 in a row. In the season finale, with their postseason hopes in the balance and trailing in overtime, the team that endured so much change this year and so much heartbreak found a way.
Jack Henry will sling one to the end zone. Touchdown, Jackrabbits! An incredible comeback for South Dakota State to get to 8 wins and punch their ticket to the FCS postseason.
I want a team that feels that they've accomplished the goal of reaching their highest potential, that handled any adversity that was thrown their way.
Play for each other. Let's go.
This team will be talked about for the rest of South Dakota State history.
It's a party, it's a party, it's a party.
Jeremy Schaap reporting. The last season the Jackrabbits did not reach at least the national semifinals was in 2019 when they lost in the second round. I'm Matt Schick. ESPN's coverage of the FCS playoffs continues after this break.
Welcome back to snowy Dana J. Dykehouse Stadium here in Brookings, South Dakota. We are at the half between the South Dakota State Jackrabbits and the New Hampshire Wildcats in this first round game of the FCS Playoffs. We'll take another break, come back with first half stats and highlights right after this. Back in cold and snowy Brookings, South Dakota, as we get ready for the start of the second half in this opening game of the FCS Playoffs. With Jeff Woody, I'm Doug Sherman. Welcome back, everybody. And passing the football, not easy on a day like today, but the Jackrabbits have made it look pretty easy.
Yeah, not easy unless you're Chase Mason. If he can get the ball in his hands, he's probably going to get it to somebody else.
He's thrown for 195 yards. Meanwhile, on the other side for UNH, they only have 19 yards passing, and the pass has been setting up a run game that's been equally effective for the Jacks.
Yeah, they've been physical on the offensive line and on the running backs. Luffridge with the first touchdown run, then Johnson with the next touchdown run with a real high-quality snow angel following it in the end zone. And then you got to be a little bit lucky. They had one tipped touchdown here by Block and another tipped interception by Johnson later in the half. But this one's not necessarily luck. This is just really good location of a pass and then really, really nice job there by Smith to get it into the end zone. I mean, this has been everything you want it to be for South Dakota State so far. New Hampshire is really going to have to pick up the tempo and be able to execute better on third down than what they had in the first half in order if they're going to try and extend their season and come back from this deficit.
And within all of that, Chase Mason, 13 of 15 passing. He has completed his last 11. His last 2 attempts through the air have gone for touchdowns. How do the Wildcats combat that and get their offense into the end zone? Start of the third quarter. Coming up with the winner advancing to round 2 of the playoffs. As the ground crew continues to clear the field right up until the start of the second half, we give you a chance to see some of the out-of-town scores. How about the Coyotes being pushed by Drake at the half in another first-round game?
Yeah, I imagine the Jacks fans aren't too upset to see that one really tight with a really tough Drake football team making their third straight appearance in the playoffs with a new coach, Joe Woodley, who has taken NAIA Grandview to, I believe, 2 straight national titles, is now the Drake head coach. They're a tough team, but I don't think the South Dakota State fans have any love lost for the Coyotes.
Darren Burton II does well to handle that kick, and he is dropped at about the 28-yard line. Here's a look at the two quarterbacks. Veza has the 1 interception on a deflected pass. I've been impressed just by how well the Jackrabbits have taken care of the football. No INTs, no passes really in harm's way. And neither side has fumbled the football so far, despite the brutally cold conditions.
Yeah, it's really cold. The ball gets slick, so you have to be extra focused on not getting yourself in a position where you're going to fumble. But I mean, the main 2 things to me that are the big difference in this game from 27-3 is quarterback efficiency. Everything is off schedule for New Hampshire. They got to fix that. And then third down conversions. Those are the 2 main differences that have made it such a big spread.
Denzel Gibson, who had a big first half running the football, going nowhere on his first touch of the third quarter.
You know, I would imagine if I'm the UNH offense, I want to continue doing what was successful in the first half, but you're going to have to tweak it because you know South Dakota State's going to make their adjustment. What was successful is running your inside zone scheme straight downhill. Well, what's the adjustment to that is pinch everything down and clog the middle so you don't have any access to any lane in the middle of the field.
Tolu Olajide, who we saw lead the field under his own power in the second quarter, is not out there at left tackle to start the third quarter, as Gibson is stopped after a short gain to bring up third down and long.
Bryce Johnson doing a really nice job of coming over the top on a combination block. When that combination block disappears, that means the ball is coming right to you. So no one's going to send multiple offensive linemen in the wrong way. So that combination block is a really good signal that the ball is coming your way. Great job of getting around it and getting a contact in the backfield.
Jake Kadire, number 77, is the starting left tackle for UNH here in the third quarter. Matt Veza has all day, throws, has a man caught. Going to be a first down for Casey McKinney, the St. Francis transfer, who spent the last 4 years in the NEC. That's his 26th catch of the season.
And that's actually a really nice job there by the offensive line, including Dominic Laudicina, who is the replacement for Olajide. What was really good about that is, again, it's a known passing situation. It's 3rd and 8. You can't just sit back there forever, but it was a good job of anchoring your feet and stopping that pass rush.
Thank you for that. Had the wrong number, 77. Dominic Laudicina, sophomore from Villanova, PA, getting the extended time at left tackle. Veza to his all-conference tight end / fullback, Peyton Strickland again, but the Jackrabbits defense was all over it one more time. It's Bryce Johnson, the starter at will linebacker here today.
They mentioned when we were meeting with the offensive coordinator and the offensive staff with Ed Borden and Ryan Wilson being co-coordinators that they had to run the ball in unconventional times. You expect, you know, high school games are run first, run second, pass third, run first, run second. They can't do that. So passing on first down to try and loosen everything up, even if it doesn't work, is still a useful strategy.
Now Gibson ran for 75 yards in the first half. He gets the football again, gets through a couple of arm tackles, and surges forward to bring up third down and 1. It's a 9-yard gain for the sophomore running back.
And we haven't seen Miles Thomason in a while. So you wonder, and we don't have sideline reporters, so we can't run down and check, but you wonder if there's been something, if he tweaks something, is unable to go, because they're all-conference running back. Thomason not being in the game at all makes me think that there's a little bit of an injury there, in addition to a really good play of Denzel Gibson.
Hopefully just riding the hot hand of Denzel Gibson. Here he is again. Pushed back. That'll bring up 4th down and short, and we have seen Rick Santos and the Wildcats go for it on 4th down repeatedly. Will they do that here? They actually lost a little bit of yardage on that run.
Well, that's another 3rd down stop. They've not been good on that down. They're 3 for 9 on 3rd down. Where you look on the other side, what's South Dakota State? 5 for 5. If you want to keep drives going in the snow, you're going to get a lot of 3rd downs. They have been bad on them, but they have been good on 4th downs, going 2 for 2.
Run it up the middle. It's going to be close. Both sides pointing that they won that play. Aaron Wolfkell Holston among those on the tackle. And it is a New Hampshire 1st down.
It's one of my favorite things about football. Like, if you don't know anything about the sport, you just see 2 groups of people just pointing at each other and waiting for a person in stripes to say who's right. I think it's like 2 kids in an argument, which is like a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old over who started the fight. Yep. Mom has to come in and say, you know what? You're both in trouble. 1st down, move.
Well, here's another indication that perhaps there's something wrong with Miles Thomason, because the little-used 3rd-string running back Elliott Miney has come into the game for the first time for New Hampshire.
The runner was ruled short of the line to gain. South Dakota State is challenging the ruling on the field.
Interesting phrasing. I believe what he meant to say is, the ruling of a 1st down is under further, that the runner had completed or reached the line to gain is under further review.
I do believe he misspoke.
This is going to be really hard to overturn.
Right.
I mean, just unless you have a camera angle that is perfectly tracked, you know, and you think of like NFL broadcasts in the Super Bowl that have like 27 cameras that they can have a cart that kind of goes down along it. Like, even those games with a billion cameras still doesn't have a perfect angle that in the midst of a pile you can say, nope, it was this blade of grass instead of this blade of grass.
Yep.
So just plays like this are just really hard to overturn unless you've got super obvious evidence that something is going to be changed.
And all the while, the Shovel Brigade, collectively the MVP of this game this afternoon, continue to clear snow. I mean, seriously, there are a half a dozen men and or women who have not stopped with the shovels. Wolfkell Holston fired up, the senior from Gilbert, Arizona. Here is the call.
After further review, the ruling of the field of a 1st down is upheld. South Dakota State's challenge is unsuccessful. They will be charged their 1st timeout of the half. South Dakota State will be unable to challenge for the remainder of the game.
Yeah, and that's one of those, like, even if you dislike the call, and even if you're right, it's just the call on the field is assumed to be correct. So you have to prove that it is incorrect, because it's not on the field. There's a lot more gray area, but once it's made, once the call is made, it is assumed that that's right, and you have to be proven wrong, and it's just very hard to find actual proof.
So again, Elliott Miney, who carried the football only 20 times this season for New Hampshire, is in there on 1st down. Miney takes the handoff, runs into a wall of blue after a 1-yard gain. Syfor among those in on the stop. Kobe Claiborne as well. And at the very least, the Wildcats in the 2nd quarter and now into the 3rd, their offense has been able to possess the football. It's something they've done very well all season long. They couldn't do it in the 1st quarter, couldn't get anything going. And during that duration, the Jackrabbits took advantage, jumping out to the big early lead.
Yeah, they weren't able to convert on those drives. They only have 3 points to show for the better offensive execution.
Gibson back into the game, goes out into the flat, can't haul in the pass, and if he did, Joe Ullman was going to make sure there was no yardage after the catch.
That was a good job there by Veza of breaking contain, where again your offensive linemen are on skates. You're not really sure where you're going to be able to set up and make a pass, but that's a nice job of escaping the pocket. Just better coverage of not letting anybody open.
Laudicina, Rogers, Swain, Habersham and Riley, the big boys up front for New Hampshire. Dylan McLevich, their captain offensive lineman, out with injury. 3rd down and 9.
And they've got one-on-one coverage with Chase Wilson at the top.
Setting up the screen. Gibson is drilled behind the line of scrimmage and finished off by Logan Green. But Joe Ullman among those who were ready for that play.
Yeah, you call a screen expecting there's going to be pressure. And what happens when there's not as much pressure as you want? Well, you're really just kind of punting the down. They only brought 4 on that play. And a screen is built to essentially allow extra people up the field and then throw right behind them. But those people not coming up the field means you're throwing right into them. And so you're making a wager that on a 3rd and long they're bringing pressure. South Dakota State does not. And UNH unable to capitalize on a reasonably promising drive to start the half.
And Joe Ullman, who spent the last 3 years backing up Jack's legend Adam Bach with another big play to get the defense off the field. Good punt that lands in the end zone. And that will take us to break. Chase Mason and the Jackrabbits offense coming back out onto the field after this. So far, the New Hampshire defense just has not been able to get this Jackrabbits offense off the field. You see how productive they have been with Chase Mason back in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's nothing that he does that is detrimental to winning. He's a big play machine. He's super efficient. He's a great leader. He is exactly what you want in a quarterback, and it's shown today.
He missed the last 5 games with a foot injury, was cleared by the medical team throughout the week, practiced, and he has this offense humming. Julius Loffridge with a huge run on 1st down.
Cohen Cook actually had a pretty decent shot at him. Really well blocked by the offensive line of the Jackrabbits. Cohen Cook, which is their field safety, excuse me, their boundary safety, is generally going to be coming from the big side of the field. You can see number 10 had a good shot at him, but wasn't able to wrap up. And as we've seen all day, Julius Loffridge is not a first guy gets him down type back. There's a reason he's got 4,000 yards in his career. That redshirt freshman is very, very talented, super high ceiling for New Hampshire, not able to get him down.
Give it back to Loffridge. Straight up the middle. Going to be a gain of about 4. It'll bring up 2nd down. Cole Bullock among those in on the stop. Cohen Cook again always around the football for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Cohen Cook is always around the football. And I misspoke. He is the boundary safety. They put number 4, Darren Burton, to the field. But tackling's easier with a buddy, and that was a good job there, even though it was a 5-yard gain to get 2 bodies on Loffridge.
Well, Loffridge has now passed 1,000 yards this season in his Jackrabbits career, to go along with better than 3,000 yards the last 4 years with the Fordham Rams.
Well, that was a miscommunication, eh? That was a draw play that was called, which is intended to be likely to the left side of the field, but Loffridge was lined up to the right side, so Chase Mason is play action faking to no one on an intended give to Luffridge, so sometimes it doesn't work exactly as is planned.
Well, that's about the only thing that's not gone perfectly well for this offense today. South Dakota State with the football on top, 27-3, early third quarter. Third down, Mason to throw. He has all day in the pocket, finds an open man and delivers the football. It may not have been a perfect strike, but it was perfectly on target to Grayton Gannon.
And the weighting on this, when I say weighting, I mean W-E-I-G-H, not W-A-I. The weighting on this ball, it's so hard to throw it up and down over linebackers, down underneath. It was a little bit of a Peyton Manning wobbler, but that ball had the exact trajectory, and that's a 2-ball. That's a really hard ball to throw. 1 ball's a fastball, 3 balls a moonshot. That 2 intermediate pass, that's what he has improved upon the most coming into this season.
And Gannon had the huge third quarter touchdown from Henry last week and the win at North Dakota. Big pickup here. Luffridge with the carry. DJ Johnson, redshirt freshman defensive end from Wilbraham, Massachusetts, made the stop. Working quickly on second down. Set up the screen pass behind Goring, who had to adjust, makes the catch, makes a man miss, and runs down the sideline for a big pickup. Flag down on the field as Duncan Moreland made the stop.
I imagine Jack Smith is going to get called for holding here on Darren Burton, excuse me.
Number 19, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Second down.
Yeah, one of the things when I mentioned earlier Chase Mason's second touchdown pass, the one that was essentially Smith ran it all the way in, that ball was perfectly on his front shoulder, which allowed his momentum to try and get all the way down the field. But this one, it was on his back hip, and when it's on his back hip, that momentum is completely stopped. He has to stop and turn around, and all the space that you want to create is now closed down, which puts your blockers in a weird position. So that one is as much on Mason actually as it is on Smith.
On second down, Mason steps into it, throws it down the middle, and it is intercepted. Great coverage by Sean Webb to take the football away. It's his second INT in as many weeks.
And that's just Chase Mason's second interception all season. He very rarely puts the ball in harm's way, but that thing floated.
First down, New Hampshire.
I don't dislike the intention to throw the ball, but that thing was underthrown by like 5 or 7 yards. If you're going to throw it in the end zone on a ball like that 3-ball, that big moonshot, you cannot underthrow one of those moonshots, especially when you've got a defender that is right in the hip pocket. Really nice defense by Sean Webb there.
And Webb missed a big chunk of the season, lost 5 games due to a broken wrist suffered against UAlbany, and has been coming off the bench in the cornerback rotation for defensive coordinator Scott James, whose team comes away with the big takeaway, but now staring at 97 yards in front of him. The offense led by Matt Veza back on the field. Movement was Luke Rogers drawn off sides by the defender.
In order for this to be a defensive penalty, 51 had to be in the neutral zone. You can flinch on your side of the ball.
Number 79, offense. Active distance to the goal. First down.
Yeah, that's the right call. I mean, Green did not get into the neutral zone. So you're coached, if a guy flinches and comes to the neutral zone, you're trying to draw that foul. So 79 moved on purpose. That wasn't an accident. But if Green doesn't get into the neutral zone and you move, then that is a false start and not a neutral zone infraction. But it's worth the gamble. You only move back 1.5 feet, and they might get 5 yards if you get the call to go the other way.
Veza the give. Denzel Gibson able to get those couple of yards back that they lost on the penalty to bring up second down and 10. Aiden Dodderman with another tackle for SDSU.
This second down play is really big because if you're able to be in a 3rd and short, it opens up the playbook a lot. If it goes for 0 yards and your 3rd down play involves your quarterback standing in your end zone in the snow against this defensive line, everything gets sped up really, really fast. Really important second down play.
With the temperature hovering around 20 degrees, Gibson takes a couple of shots, stopped at the 5-yard line. Once again, it's Claiborne, the junior defensive tackle from Sioux City, Iowa, to stop it after maybe a gain of 2.
Yeah, Kobe Claiborne able just to defeat a one-on-one block and get his hands on the ball. And that's the situation you didn't want to be in if you're New Hampshire. Now your quarterback's taking the snap in his own end zone in a must-pass situation. You got guys that are going to be going right after the quarterback, and they move Claiborne out where he'll sometimes play inside, sometimes play outside. Oh, watch number 94 on the replacement Laudicina on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, standing up, ready to rush the quarterback on 3rd down. Here he comes. Pass is caught. It's going to be close, but shy of a 1st down. Bryce Johnson with the stop. And at this part of the field, you wouldn't expect New Hampshire to go for it this time on 4th down, and indeed the punting unit will come out.
If you were to go for it and miss, you're almost guaranteeing South Dakota State points. You kind of have to punt here, as much as Coach Santos is very much not wanting to. Really, for the rest of the game, you kind of don't have a choice with how ineffective your 3rd down and 4th down short yardage plays have been.
Isaiah Garcia Castaneda back deep to receive the punt from Matt Guidebeck, who stands just in the end zone.
Play of game, number 47, offense. 5-yard penalty.
Well, now he's going to have to move 5 yards deeper into the end zone. Running out of room back there if you're New Hampshire.
You're really mainly concerned, you just got to get this thing off. With as icy as it is, the snap gets dicey, the catch gets dicey, the kick gets dicey, your blocking gets dicey. You just want to get this ball off. If it's able to be a good punt, that's an absolute win, but getting it off at all is the goal.
He does get the punt off. It's a good one. Fielded at midfield. Going to protect the football, coming to the near sideline, and form tackle made in coverage by Brendan Ty. 27-3, the Jackrabbits in control here late in the 3rd quarter. In this very stadium 6 years ago, Chase Mason won a state high school championship for Viborg Hurley. Today, he looks very much at home.
He looks very much at home. 15 for 18. Prior to that interception, had completed 13 consecutive passes, got 214 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, an extremely rare interception on a bad decision. I imagine he's very anxious to get that taste out of his mouth as he comes back on the field.
And you can see the number 3 stickers on the back of the helmets there. They have been there all season. Because of the stunning death of Nate White of natural causes, he passed in late June. He had transferred in from Wisconsin, had been on campus for about 6 months, went through spring ball. And the team continues to think of him and play the rest of the season in his memory. The Jackrabbits break the huddle. Corey Blair Jr. gets his first opportunity to run the football. His coach told us yesterday Blair might actually be the most talented running back in the room.
Yeah, and you see just there's a spark, a speed that he's got. And I think that's the thing that's really exciting for the coaching staff, is just to get that explosiveness on the field.
Well, he's 6'3", 210, just a true freshman from Kernersville, North Carolina. And he is one of what seems like several freshmen in that running back room for the Jackrabbits, running behind Loffridge. Again, give it to Blair. No, fake the handoff. Throw towards the 5-yard line, and trying to make a twisting catch was Coombs. He just couldn't haul it in.
And that's a really tough play to make with the amount of touch and space that this wind is only going to allow for. But I think that's the same play that earlier in the year against Montana State, they scored essentially what would be the game-winning touchdown, is just releasing the tight end up the seam. You got to put, it's a very specific weight. It's got to be on his back shoulder to keep him away from the safety, but it's got to be hard enough that it can get down there, but it can't be so hard the linebackers get it. With a wind like this, it's a very tough pass to make.
Current temperature 18 degrees. It feels like 4 degrees out there as Loffridge totes the rock again on 3rd down. Going to come up about a yard shy. Akinmoladun, the graduate defensive tackle, with the stop along with Cohen Cook. And on 4th down, this part of the field, you're going to go for it if you're Chase Mason. Run the football, Loffridge. And he finds his way to another South Dakota State 1st down.
And they almost got there. Darren Burton, who is the chaos and the havoc of this defense, knew what was coming. Just about made the tackle in the backfield, but Loffridge was just able to get away from him. You're going to see from the top of your screen, there's somebody coming right by his feet. It's Darren Burton again. He's a really fun player to watch on film. He just missed.
Yeah, he's the heat-seeking missile on defense for UNH. Not able to get there this time. So the Jackrabbits keep the football. 1st down and 10. That is just inside the 20-yard line. Corey Blair Jr. keeps the feet moving, stays upright for a 4-yard gain. Isaiah Jones, the Springfield, Massachusetts native, linebacker for the Wildcats, on the tackle.
There's only one more play that they have to run before the end of the quarter, and the wind doesn't really favor one side of the field or the other, but they're really not going to be in any type of hurry. They've already got a 24-point lead, and they're really in almost guaranteed scoring position so long as you take care of the ball. So this is not something they're going to try and be in a hurry, and they're just essentially trying to get to the end of the game at this point with the most effective way they can.
Mason gives, and immediately the ball carrier is dropped. Akinmoladun with another tackle. He's the team leader in sacks, 2nd team All-CAA. He sniffed that out and made a sure-handed tackle to drop Josiah Johnson on this final play of the 3rd quarter. The Jackrabbits on a cold and snowy day look very much at home on their home turf. We head to the 4th quarter with a 24-point lead.
Introducing Verts. Swipe for news and highlights. Now available on the ESPN app.
We're back at Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium here in Brookings, South Dakota, and the discrepancy on the scoreboard maintains, even though neither was able to score in the third quarter. Total yardage, Jeff, South Dakota State 353 yards, for New Hampshire just 157. And the first play of the fourth quarter with Chase Mason throwing the football. He's got a wide open man who walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Coleman Kuntz, and the Jackrabbits are back on the board.
And Coleman Kuntz is going to get the touchdown, but you know what? I wish that you could get assist touchdowns. You know, they get hockey assists, you get the second one. Alex Bullock is, as soon as he becomes a blocker, as soon as the ball's out of his hands, out of the quarterback's hands, the receiver catches it. Watch the very, very top of the screen. Kuntz is going to catch it, and immediately Bullock becomes a blocker and takes Sean Webb out of the play and just clears the way like these Kubota tractors have been clearing the snow off. Bullock is getting an open route to the end zone, or opening the route to the end zone by Kuntz. That's a heck of an assist.
Well, Jeff, you would understand it. You know, Bullock was a walk-on at Nebraska who carved out a niche. Didn't know he was going to play again this year, but he continues to do all the little things to help his team win.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to help the team win, and whether that's catching a touchdown pass like Kuntz or Bullock blocking his way in. 34-3, South Dakota State.
The NCAA FCS Championship continues with second-round coverage next Saturday on ESPN+. For more information, visit ncaa.com, the home for all NCAA championships. South Dakota State in complete control over New Hampshire early in the fourth quarter. The winner of this game will advance to face third-seeded Montana in Missoula next Saturday here on ESPN+. Wildcats get the football back after having just given up the touchdown to Kuntz. Darren Burton the second on the return. The Wildcats get decent field position to begin this drive.
And they're going to have to do something special to come back and win this game. And it's going to have to start now. You're down by 32 points, which is 4 scores. It's 4 8-point drives. So you got to start now, because you won't have much time, and you're going to have to play excellent football. But this is the playoffs. I mean, your season is done. if you don't complete it. So there will still be urgency by this New Hampshire team, but they have a tough road to hoe.
Gavin Johnson, number 10 in white, the slot receiver into the game. He goes in motion. Veza has all day to decipher the defense. Had a receiver who had a shot at it, but Logan Perez couldn't haul it in.
And that's the type of offense that New Hampshire normally runs. RPO, so run pass option, meaning that your quarterback puts his hands out, tries to bait the linebackers into playing up into the run, then throw right behind them. UNH is awesome at that. Veza is really good. It's hard to do when it's 2 degrees windy and snowy to get that to actually happen, because your receiver isn't going to be in the exact same spot because he can't cut where he needs to. So that's why when at the start of the game I said the worse the weather, the more it favors the Jackrabbits.
Veza this time hands it off to the big man in the backfield, Denzel Gibson. Bryce Johnson, who remains active on defense with another tackle for the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, he's making the most of his opportunity. Where again, Cole McShane, a future not likely, but a chance to be a future NFL player. If he's out, your opportunity's here. And you know, I dare you to take me off the field. That's the attitude you have to play. So give me a shot, I dare you to take me off the field. And he's done terrific today to help his team.
And McShane is expected to be back from the injury if they are able to hold on to this lead and play round 2 out at Montana. Gibson takes a blow and continues on. Big shot by Matt Gehring, the middle linebacker. But Gibson just continues to put up big numbers. He's been the best offensive weapon today for UNH.
Yeah, and I imagine they don't want him to necessarily be the primary option. I just imagine that Miles Thomason is not able to go because we have not seen him since the middle of the first quarter. And without him in there, you really have Denzel Gibson, who is a big back. He is a good mutter. This is where the type of weather that he would excel in, being able to go downhill. They're going to have to do something special to keep this drive going on this 4th and 2.
Quarterback keeper, and it is a first down. Got a nice block from the running back, Denzel Gibson.
Good job there on understanding the situation, knowing where the line to gain is, which for those in the audience, that is the 50-yard line. They are at about the 50-yard line.
Are you sure?
We looked at the Powerade water stands are right on the 50-yard line once they'd cleared it off, and that is, we're in line with the Powerade stands. So they're at the 50 right now, for those that are unsure.
And we can just barely see the outline of the yellow Jackrabbit logo. We know it goes right through the middle of the rabbit logo as well. So yes, indeed, they are at midfield. New Hampshire with a little bit of trickery. They get it back to the quarterback, Veza, who throws it back to the man who gave it to him, Logan Perez. Well, that's the second time we've seen UNH dial up a trick play. This time they get 5 yards out of it.
And that should have been a lot more. The timing on that worked out really well to get the ball back to Veza, to get it back over to Perez, but the offensive line didn't know when they needed to trigger. By the time the ball gets over there, you're going to see a lot of big dudes that are standing because they're not sure exactly when the play needs to hit. So they're trying to wait for whether it's a go call or a 3 count in their head, whatever the mechanism they have to trigger. The offensive line didn't quite see it. That could have been a much bigger play. There's 4 offensive linemen with 3 blockers or 3 defenders to try and block.
Yeah, you saw the center, Luke Swain, finally broke free, but it was too late to spring it. Veza down the middle. A little too tall for Peyton Strickland, the first team all CAA fullback slash halfback slash tight end. 34-3. It's been a long afternoon in the cold for that man, Matt Veza. His numbers at this point have not been good throwing the football.
And that one looked like he was wanting Goring to go more vertical. He threw it to where he was expecting him to go, and it's really hard to adjust. If it goes in one direction, in this weather, you ain't changing direction as a receiver.
The line to gain is the 40. It's 3rd down and 4. Veza takes the snap, throwing it near sideline into single coverage. Casey McKinney could not get away from the defender, Aiden Dodderman.
Aiden Dodderman did a really nice job there. One of my coaches, when we were installing pass plays, called it the 4-yard highway, which is 4 yards off the sideline, that's your ground as a wide receiver. If you lose that 4-yard highway and you get pushed to the sideline, the best the quarterback can do is make a perfect ball. If it's a little out, it's out of bounds. If it's a little inside, it's picked off. And as a defensive back, you're trying to push them off that highway towards the sideline. Dowderman did an excellent job not leaving any room for the wide receiver to operate.
Going forward on 4th down. Veza rolling. Pass deflected. Incomplete. Matt Gehring from his middle linebacker position able to make the big defensive play.
Josh Fillion was there, but couldn't quite get the ball delivered. And turnover on downs.
So the Jacks defense does its job and gets the football back here in the 4th quarter. The Division I FCS Championship will be decided in Nashville, presumably a little warmer, less snowy than we have here today in Brookings, South Dakota. And you see the Jacks are staring at a 2nd-round date in Missoula, Montana next week if they can close this thing out. And we've got a change at quarterback as Chase Mason, who was brilliant today, especially given the fact that he's returned from a foot injury, gives way to Jack Henry. And in last week's crucial win to close out the regular season, he had 2 touchdown passes, including the game winner in overtime, or else SDSU wouldn't be here in the playoffs where they are right now.
And they wouldn't have had the chance to get Mason back, and they wouldn't have had the chance to get this home playoff game to be able to have the advantage of not having to travel across the country. That game and that play is massive for really across the country, because as good as this SDSU team is playing, they were in the top 3 all of the first half of the year when Mason was healthy. Once he got hurt and Henry stepped in, and he's going to be a good player. He was just ahead of schedule as a freshman. They had to play another quarterback, so he was their 3rd option. By the time they got there, I think people forgot how good this SDSU team is when Mason is playing. And if you're looking at, if you're the rest of the country, if you're Montana, and you're looking, this is the SDSU team that we're going to see.
Yeah, they're more the team that started the year 7-0 than the one that lost 4 of its last 5, including 4 in a row immediately after the injury to Mason. And Henry, as mentioned, as we've got a 1st down carry for South Dakota State. Henry, along with Luke Marble, were the 2 quarterbacks who tried to fill in for Mason. Marble started a couple of games against North Dakota State and Indiana State. Both were losses. Marble was injured week 10 against the Sycamores, and so then the job went to Henry, who's back on the field here. There's a look at all 3 of them, but there's a huge drop-off, and that's more often than not the case in football. The number one guy is the number one guy for a reason.
And especially when you're at the FCS level where you don't have as much to pull from. In South Dakota State, they had a guy named, what is it, Gronowski.
Yeah.
I think he was okay at football.
He was decent.
They replace him with another one. You're not going to have 3 of those guys at the same time. You have to develop them into the players that they're going to be.
Boy, I tell you what, that stiff arm by Corey Blair Jr. was very popular on the near sideline.
I hate to keep saying, Malik Diaby is having a rough day, man. He's gotten trucked a couple times, had a tip that was almost a really nice defensive play, and now he meets the palm of Blair. And there's a reason why this South Dakota State team's real excited about number 29's future.
You mentioned Gronowski, national champion quarterback. He had a bye week from Iowa earlier this season, decided, I'm not going to go to the beach. I'm not going to go out of the country. He came back to Brookings to spend a quiet weekend with his friends. It's all part of the culture that Dan Jackson has continued to build upon, what he has learned from those who came before him, most notably John Stiglmeyer.
And he still talks to Coach Stig, and that they live 5 houses away from each other. And when they do have schedules that coordinate, they'll get together and talk. And they've got a football playing alumni list that's 1,400 strong that all want to be a part of keeping the program where it's been at. 14 consecutive playoff appearances. And, you know, when you include North Dakota State, there has been at least one Dakota State University in 13 of the last 14 national championships, with one of those 2 winning 12 of those.
Josiah Johnson, the carry. Yes, in this day and age, everybody around the country knows the FCS football championship goes through the Dakotas. All 4 Dakota FCS teams made the field this year for the first time ever.
And all 4 are either buys or hosting. And so not only did they squeak in, they're good teams. South Dakota hosting Drake. North Dakota is hosting Tennessee Tech. As a closer game. I was trying to check the score on that. And then obviously South Dakota State's here, and North Dakota State's the #1 overall seed.
Johnson, the ball carrier on 3rd down. And this South Dakota State team, after the win last week at North Dakota, climbed back to number 16 in the national rankings and earned themselves a home football game to begin the FCS playoffs.
And by all intents and purposes, there's 7 minutes to play. They've got the ball in scoring position. They've been able to run the ball. You can almost change it from an if to when they win today. They're going to be playing Montana, and they've played them in at least the last 2 FCS playoffs. Both have been very close games. 2023, it was a title game with perhaps the best FCS team until this year's North Dakota State team. And then last year in the 2nd round, they're both victories by the Jackrabbits.
Henry runs it. Ball comes loose. It is covered. South Dakota State will keep the football at just outside the 10-yard line. Nice job by Josiah Johnson to not try and pick it up and run, just secure possession.
Well, heck, the ball's bouncing the way of the Jackrabbits, eh? I mean, 2 tip passes, both one on offense, one on defense, both going the Jackrabbits' way.
Was not recovered by the player that fumbled. However, the result was a first down, South Dakota State.
So to clarify what that is, a fumbling player on a 4th down, you can't advance the fumble forward. So the ball is going to go back to where it was fumbled, but that was still a first down. So first down, Jackrabbits, just back 4 or 5 yards. But yeah, fumble goes right back on offense, goes right back to Jackrabbits. 2 tip passes go to the Jackrabbits. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yep. Big shot there by Raleigh Collins III, West Virginia transfer, former 3-star recruit who left the Mountaineers to become a Wildcat. Blair found a seam, picked up maybe 3.
It's funny when you're a back, because I played running back and played at Iowa State, which is upper Midwest. You get weather like this, and it's funny when you try and turn. You get your full momentum going in one direction, and you're trying to cut. You're used to being able to just put your foot in the ground and put some force in and get some force back. And this just, you kind of have to twinkle toes your way around. So it's more trying to turn an 18-wheeler than it is a sports car.
Johnson back in at running back. Elijah Irvin was the motion man. By the way, Elijah Irvin was one of the South Dakota State players on the field pregame, getting loose with no shirt on.
That's a choice.
Not a good choice. I mean, Zach Guerin, who's not playing today, also was out there. Chase Van Tol, Eli Stater, the place kicker for South Dakota State. And then I say Irvin was, I should say he was sleeveless. He was not shirtless, he was sleeveless. But the receivers and the running backs for South Dakota State, they were making a statement as well. Usually you think the linemen are the guys who are going to do that, but it was the skill position guys.
And the kickers.
And the kickers. Blair stood up, takes a couple of shots. Clock continues to run. DJ Johnson among those getting a lick on the ball carrier.
I appreciate that you clarified that he was wearing sleeves.
Yes.
Or no sleeves, but he's still wearing a shirt just in case Grandma's watching.
Just
She's
in
saying,
case.
what are you doing?
Just
Put a
in
shirt on.
case.
He was wearing a shirt. Others weren't.
Wasn't much to the shirt, though, I'll tell you that. It was a T-shirt. It was not some, you know, tricked up, keep you warm. It was making a statement. And honestly, I mean, in spite of the conditions, these Jackrabbits have been completely undeterred. They have played their football game. Nice tackle by the free safety Duncan Moreland. Otherwise, that might have been another touchdown.
South Dakota State plays forward and doesn't really make you defend 52.5 sideways. And that's how wide the field is. So they want you to defend your face mask. They don't really care that you have to defend the sideline in situations like this. New Hampshire's not built to play that game. So it's sort of one of those bad luck draws that New Hampshire's getting a bigger team, but also happens to play in the snow and the ice where they can't take the advantages that they may have. So unfortunate draw with the weather for this New Hampshire team.
Nowhere to go for the ball carrier that time. Akin Mullidoon standing up the ball carrier. And with this, we should give a shout out to your former teammate at Iowa State, your former roommate, who's the O-line coach for the Jackrabbits, who've been getting it done here today.
Yeah, Mike Bankston. He was my roommate for 2 years back in Ames. He was his knees were too bad for him to actually finish playing, so he was a student coach his senior year and then went on to coach at Northwest Missouri State. Then he went down to Sam Houston and he started just kind of building his career. And we talked to Coach, really both coaches between Eidsness and Jackson, they just said how much energy he has. So for the fact that I can compliment my former roommate in a playoff game, in a game that I'm calling, that's sort of a pinch me moment. So
pretty cool.
Really cool to see Mike down on their side. He's actually the guy in the camo, right, meeting the team as they come off the field. He's the guy in the camo outfit. Never been one for style.
On a day like today, who cares about style? That goes out the window. I want to stay warm. All Jackrabbits here today. The flurries continue here in Brookings, South Dakota, on a 4th down play at about the 3-yard line. The backup quarterback Jack Henry under center with the I formation. Throw it to the fullback who's open. And it's another touchdown for South Dakota State.
Andrew Gustad with the touchdown reception for all the beautiful fullbacks out there. Anytime you're asked to just block all the time, your teammates know that you're doing the dirty work, and if they can get you a touchdown, that's why that play was called. In addition to it being a likely score based on the situation and what their field position was, they knew that there was going to be an opportunity to get a guy who does a lot of dirty work a play. So great momentum builder for Henry, and fun to see the fullback family get a touchdown.
Well, sure. Now Gustad is a perfect 8 for 8 in touches this year. He's Mr. Efficiency. All 8 of his touches have resulted in either a first down or a touchdown. 5 short yardage runs for first down, and now all 3 of his catches have been in the end zone.
Well, the thing is if he's only been targeted 8 times, he doesn't show up on the sheet on defense to say we need to watch out for him. So whenever there is a chance to leak out to a guy who breaks your own tendency, even if your tendency is 8 for 8, or at this point 7 for 7 prior to that pass, it makes it so the defense doesn't know that it's coming, because what they've seen so far through the game is downhill running, punch you in the face, well, pull the rug out from underneath and throw a touchdown pass to a fullback.
And I love that out of the offensive coordinator, Eric Eidsness, at this point in the game. Allow for your junior fullback out of Gayville-Volland High School here in South Dakota to continue what's been a magical run and avoid being that guy.
I
don't get it.
Why? You know,
I mean, we were 22 a while ago. We understand certain things, but there have been some hardy fans going shirtless here all afternoon long. And again, not that visual doesn't tell you right there, seeing the snow everywhere. The wind chill is just barely above 0 here this afternoon.
I believe there's a cinnamon product that is sold somewhere.
Yeah, helpful.
Helpful in the stands.
Eli Stater's kick. He is fielded inside the 10-yard line. DeMontre Patterson able to get out to about the 20-yard line, and so the New Hampshire offense will come back out.
Patterson's a 100-meter state champ in the state of Oklahoma, but I imagine you're not running in snow on tracks in Oklahoma.
No. And when we asked the offensive coordinator, Ed Borden, who on your offense is the fastest, Ed, without blinking, said, well, beside me. He said it's got to be DeMontre, without question. And he's got a bright future for the Wildcats as he puts on weight and continues to be a weapon with those kind of wheels.
Not a lot of guys have 10-500 speed.
No. Kevin Spellman, the reserve defensive end from New Lenox, Illinois, former Valparaiso football player, able to make the stop.
These are bittersweet moments if you're New Hampshire. You made the playoffs, but this game is over. You're down 41-3 with 2.5 minutes left. There's almost mathematically no way that you can come back and win this. So you know that these are the last snaps you're going to play with this team. So you have to cherish them, but you're languishing the fact that you're down and this is a loss. These are very mixed emotions for the entire New Hampshire side.
Scott Hirschberger into the game as running back for New Hampshire, had the carry on the previous play. That completion was to Josh Fillion. And yeah, the Jackrabbits, this roster is full of guys later in their college careers who have 2 national championships on their resume. They have experienced an awful lot of winning here, and they are keeping the dream alive for a potential 3rd national championship with an impressive opening round win. Dan Jackson and the Jackrabbits will live to play another week, and it's going to be a rematch against one of the other great football programs at the FCS level.
Yeah, Montana lead the series 8-2, but those two that South Dakota State have won, they're in the last back-to-back seasons, one in the national championship game, one last year here in the second round. This is that is set up to me to be the game of the week with how good South Dakota State has been today, and with Mason at quarterback heading out to Missoula. That is a really, really big game, because whoever comes out of that is going to be playing the winner of Mercer and South Dakota, and that is, I would say, the favorite would be the winner of that South Dakota State-Montana game, regardless of who comes out of that side.
First down run for the true freshman from Litchfield, New Hampshire, Scott Hirschberger. Veza with a pitch and catch to Chase Wilson. Jaden Oliver, the former Buffalo Bull grad transfer from Tampa, made the stop. He's been one of the big playmakers for the Jackrabbits this year. His 3 interceptions tied for most on the team with Jalen Lee. A lot of playmakers on both sides of the football for SDSU.
A lot of playmakers, a lot of depth, a lot of physicality, and that physicality travels. So when they go to Missoula, they're going to be able to take the fight to the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies are not going to be at a disadvantage in size and strength, because they match up the same strength level that these Jackrabbits do.
Veza hands to Hirschberger, and he runs into a brick wall. Just standing there, waiting to make the tackle. And he didn't miss his opportunity. Blake Leiferman, a redshirt freshman from Kimball, South Dakota. And that will do it. See if the Wildcats snap the football again on 3rd down. Some snow is flying in the stands, celebratory for the Jackrabbits fans, and that indeed will do it. Well, forget about the fact that South Dakota State lost 4 or 5 coming into the postseason. This is the team that started the year 7-0 and very much in the mix for a deep run in the FCS playoffs.
If you don't think one player can make a difference when that player is as good as Chase Mason is, watch this game, watch the Indiana State game, and that's the difference between this South Dakota State team and that South Dakota State team. A 14-3 matchup that's as good as this one, South Dakota State versus Montana, that is not a 14 seed that you want to draw if you're Montana playing at home.
And it looks like the South Dakota Coyotes are going to take care of the Drake Bulldogs as well in advance to face Mercer next Saturday. And again, all of the first 2 rounds you can see here on ESPN+. Celebration by the players for South Dakota State, diving and sliding inside the 10-yard line in the end zone, jumping into the snow pile. Snow angels everywhere, and why not?
Snow angels everywhere. And I would like to give a shout out to our camera folks. The shovel crew got the loudest cheer from the stands. I'm going to give a shout out to the camera crew. I don't think that they're going to get as much of an applause from the fans, but they're standing outside in this weather. God bless camera people. Thank you for doing the work that you did today.
And the entire crew, thank you so much. We've had an opportunity to see one of the better quarterbacks, not just at the FCS level, but in all of college football today, Chase Mason.
Chase Mason was excellent. He was on time, on schedule. He made one bad decision, an underthrown deep pass. And he's going to go back and learn from that. But guys made plays around him. He put the ball exactly where he needed to do. And Jack Smith making a play is set up by Chase Mason, enabling him to make a play. And when you're that open, or when you're able to be that open from sideline to sideline, all the way down the field, whether it's snowy, whether it's windy, you can play any game, anywhere. And that guy right there, number 7, might be the best quarterback in the FCS. And if you get him a little bit healthier, a little bit longer time to be efficient, 16 for 23 touchdowns, 1 interception, that travels. If in the tournament and in NCAA basketball, point guards win games, quarterbacks win games in the playoff, and they got a good one.
At one point, he completed 13 consecutive passes. The foot appears to be healed, and the Rabbits are ready to run. The Jackrabbits win it big, 41-3. Also a shout out to their running game. Julius Lothridge, 16 carries, 100 yards. Impressive from start to finish. As we wind things down here in Brookings, South Dakota.
This will be the last game they see here this season. And I imagine this is one that guys, both the team and the fans will remember happily. The 41-3 final score against a good New Hampshire team that's very young, and they will be back in a situation like this, perhaps even hosting if they keep this young nucleus of talent that they've got together.
They live to play another day. Congratulations to the South Dakota State Jackrabbits on their 41-3 victory. The season comes to a close for the New Hampshire Wildcats. Their 6-game winning streak is over, and they finished the year at 8-5, but Rick Santos and his crew out of the CAA showed themselves very, very well. But a nearly whole Jackrabbits team delivered here today in the snow and in the cold. Our final score once again, 40-3. Jackrabbits win it and advance to round 2. For Jeff Woody and our entire crew, especially the folks braving the elements, thanks so much for watching. So long from Brookings, South Dakota.